Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee was founded in 2014 by Ed and Courtney Lemmix alongside their son, Brett. The Lemmixes are Pensacola natives with a passion for coffee, so what better than their Beachin blend, which is just that, Beachin. It's their classic combination of Colombian and Brazilian beans. It creates a superior French roasted coffee taste, lower in caffeine, so it'll keep you easy breezy. Ed and Brett are both FSU alums and are extending a special offer to our listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit thelunacoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hujavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Promo code WARCHANT15 gets you a 15% discount on anything over there on DeLunaCoffee.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code WARCHANT30. Hit the thumbs up button if you're listening to this on YouTube. That would be much appreciated. As would a 5-star rating and review if you're on an iOS, Apple device. That kind of stuff would be appreciated. No, you don't owe us anything, everybody. I can't believe I just asked you to do stuff. You're listening to us. That's really all we could ask for. We do appreciate it. We being myself and Corey Clark. Corey, how are you?
Basketball season's 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away, I think. So starting to get geared up. Soccer team's number one in the country.
That's right.
So yeah, there's stuff still going on, man. It's stuff. NFL started on Sunday. There's a lot of stuff to to feel good about. We're alive, right? Mm-hmm. The sun came up Sunday morning. We're breathing air. We got a lot to be thankful for, Aslan.
Yeah, we're recording this a little bit earlier than usual on a Sunday, so we don't even have Jameis's potential return to elite status to maybe thrive off of. So we're gonna dive into it. I did pour myself a cup of DeLuna coffee, cold brew, Palafox Place, because
did you put any bourbon in there or anything?
Nah, I don't need that. That. I got to be clear. Got to be focused. Everybody just wants me to bring the same energy I had for Willie for Mike, so I figured I'd just get my coffee in me, so I had the right energy.
Right.
So many things to get to. We'll get to that, obviously. The comparisons and where we're at, where we're going to be. But let's dive right into it. 2017 Florida State loses to Jacksonville State, an FCS team, if I'm not mistaken. Florida State was 26-0 versus FCS teams. That was the first time Florida State had ever lost to an FCS team. The indignity that we had been spared from, that all of our other rivals had endured, we are now, as Corey would say, naked, bare naked to the world with that. That hurts. It really does. I hope that doesn't come off sarcasm. It's incredibly embarrassing, humiliating. I think that was the largest. Florida State was something crazy, like 90-something-0 against teams where they were like a 24-point favorite or more. I think they were 26.5-point favorites against Jacksonville State. Just what an absolutely bizarre, atrocious. I mean, it was ugly the whole night. And what should be no surprise to me, Corey, and all the things that we've seen the last 3 years, despite however negative and skeptical I seem on the show, I would always think that Florida State was going to pull things out. I thought they were going to pull out against Notre Dame once Mackenzie Milton went in and started getting things rolling. I didn't think they were going to lose the entire lead against Boise State. I never thought those things were going to happen. At no point ever did I think Jacksonville State was going to win that game. Never. No point. You're up 17-7 with about 10 minutes to go, yet you lose the game. Let's go right to the final play then, Corey.
Go for it.
This sounds like I'm sticking up for Adam Fuller, and I should probably...
Oh, no. Don't start it with that.
Well, here's my thing, man. I was cognizant of the fact that they did have a timeout left, and it wasn't going to be the most miraculous situation for them to get into field goal range. So I did understand the need to not go total prevent defense, 4 guys lining up on the end line to prevent like a Hail Mary. So I was okay with that, believe it or not, which probably people can believe. They think I'm stupid. It has gone on to show that it probably wasn't the right call. But the options there are either you play off, Jacksonville State gets an easy 20-yard throw, they get down with 1 second left, most likely 2 seconds left. They call a timeout to kick a 50-something yard field goal to tie the game and send it to overtime. as you mentioned in the wrap with Ira, you're asking an FCS kicker to kick a 50-yard field goal with all sorts of pressure on him. Probably not happening. I don't know. Probably the probability of that much lower than Jacksonville State scoring the way they did.
Well, and I went and looked it up because I didn't even care to look up before the game. They had a freshman kicker. Their kicker was a freshman who scored 2 points, who has now scored 2 points in his college career. It didn't even start playing football until he was a senior in high school. So it's not as if they had an FCS All-American that you were worried about. They had a kid that had never made a field goal in a college football game. Now, things happen. He might have drilled it right down the pipes if they complete a 25-yard pass in 5 seconds. But I just feel like that should be part of the calculus too, is what kind of kicker do they have? What kind of kicker do they have?
Especially when you're a staff that talks about you plan for every possible situation. Right. You spent 9 years of your career planning for everything, knowing that it might not happen, but you just want to have your teams prepared for it. So the fact that you weren't able to realize that they've got a freshman kicker who has no experience makes this the argument I'm about to make even that much more crazy. But I'll end it and then let you go, Corey. But just, man, if your options there is to let them kick a field goal, maybe push to overtime, or just make a tackle. Just make a freaking tackle. And listen, this isn't saying keep Adam Fuller. I don't know. As we're recording this, literally, he could get fired. Willie got fired at 4 p.m. on a Sunday, I think. We're recording this before 4 p.m.
Well, I feel like this would never hear the light of day if Adam Fuller gets fired in the next few hours. I feel like we'll probably re-record a little bit.
Yeah, probably. We'll probably have to come in and do like another segment, like, by the way, a breaking news bulletin.
Yeah.
But with the way the clock ran out there, when that pass was caught, if he is tackled, if he's wrapped up, if he's pass interfered with, just everything is okay. We're not sitting here talking about the end of Florida State football as we know it. And somehow one of your most physical, sure tackling cornerbacks with just a bizarre swat at the ball and just kind of, who knows, Sidney Williams, one of your more aggressive safeties with just a crazy kind of angle coming in off there. Shout out to my guy Robbie on Twitter, who circled Jamie Robinson and the guy he was covering and said one of these guys went and made a game-winning play. The other guy sat there and watched. Go back and watch it, everybody. I don't know I'm sure you all have watched it several times. Whoever Robinson was on ends up running down the field to kind of set that last-second pick that let the kid score the touchdown. Meanwhile, Jamie Robinson's nowhere to be found on your television screen. The amount of things that had to go wrong in that situation for Florida State to lose the game makes me not hate the play call as much as everybody else does. Don't love it, but I could kind of understand it as it unfolded. Corey, you disagree severely, I imagine.
Yeah, I do, but there is blame to go around. The players aren't blameless. You're right. Now, look, Jamie Robinson, that was the 83rd play he had been on the field. He played literally every snap, and Jarvis Brownlee had played like 77. So those guys were dog-tired, but still. And I don't know, that wide receiver setting the screen, he might have played 80 snaps. I don't know. That's not an excuse. But after I just written about what Deloach had done against Notre Dame,
right?
But this is what it's about, right? Like, yeah, awesome. And I know they're different players. But if that's Notre Dame, maybe Jamie Robinson's running a little harder, trying to make a play. Like Adam Fuller used the Kalen Deloach play against Notre Dame, blitzing and then peeling back and making a tackle 55 yards downfield that saved a touchdown in the moment as like a teaching moment, as a lesson. Well, do they do the same thing with Jamie Robinson? Because there's no guarantee that he makes that tackle, but it makes it a lot harder for that dude to run across the field and score if he actually if he does what he's supposed to do there. If he actually if you watch it again, especially the behind the play scene, the behind the play view, he literally, when the ball is over, when the guy is catching it, he just starts jogging. And the kid he was covering is sprinting. But that's
Ahmad Edwards played 79 snaps of 85.
And that was the kid that set the screen?
Yeah.
So, look, no excuse. None. That's the game-changing play. That's the stuff that has to get one way or the other, man. Get it out of this program. And I'm not saying get Jamie Robinson out of the program, but where's the pride to, like, be down there and try to go make a play? You might not make it. You're coming full speed. He can cut back. The rest of your team is down at the line of scrimmage. So he might score anyway, but it's bad optics. And there's a lot of bad optics on that play. But more than anything, man, A coach's job is to put his team in the best position to succeed, to win a game. And we've already gone over the calculus of the field goal kicker having to make. You have to get a 25-yard pass in 5 seconds, get down, call a timeout, and then kick a game-tying 51-yard field goal. If you do all that, you're still in overtime with the superior team. The only way you could lose is the way they lost. I don't know if that kid can throw it into the end zone from the 41-yard line. But so my point with the defense would be, remember, I mean, you watch it now in the NFL and you watch it with a lot of other college programs. If it's 3rd and 18, you know how Notre Dame would have 5 guys at the first down marker? Yep. Like they have basically 5 safeties. Why would you not, in a position, in a play like that, say you're, okay, we don't want to just give them a free shot. We don't want to give them a free 25 yards because they still do have that timeout. We'll put 3 safeties deep and 2 safeties intermediate. There's a lot of avenues to go down as opposed to just running a straight nickel defense when Brownlee's covering a guy like it's the 4th quarter of a tie game or it's the 2nd quarter of a tie game. Like it made no sense to have – there's no way a receiver can get behind you in that spot. There's 6 seconds left. And that – Brownlee it's a terrible effort after the kid catches it. It's like he pulls up thinking that he didn't catch. It's just odd. The whole thing is odd, and he's going to live with that for a long time, man. And his career can go any of 2 ways now. But for right now, that's what he's remembered for, is that play. And we'll see if he can do something with it. But right now, that's what and we'll see what his confidence level is, what he becomes as a player. But that was awful. Awful play. That's going to go down in lore as just an all-time awful play by a cornerback. But he can pick up his career, man. He can take another. We'll see how he bounces back. But get Adam Fuller, like how, again, I know what Norvell said after the game, and he explained it. You're playing man under. You're playing man under. They have 60 yards to go with 6 seconds left. And you're that worried about a timeout so I counted when he threw the ball, there are 8 people that receiver has already gotten behind. 8 people that are between the line of scrimmage and him catching that ball. 8 Florida State defenders. That's absurd. It's absurd. And there's no way you can justify it. You can say the players could make the play. I get it. But you're not putting your defense in the best chance to succeed. You're not putting your players in the best chance to succeed. And I feel like a lot of those players feel let down by their coaching staff. They can blame Brownlee, sure. They can blame Sidney Williams. They can look at Jamie Robinson and being, what are you doing? But, I mean, they could also be like, Coach, why weren't we in a prevent? Why wasn't I standing at the 15? Why didn't we have 8 defensive backs on the field? And why didn't you just rush Jermaine Johnson and have 10 guys back? Like, there's so many things you could have done except that nonsense, and it cost them a game. And it might very well, 2 months from now, cost that defensive coordinator his job.
Sports Illustrated caught up with Jacksonville State after the game. Apparently that play, they had ran it 3 times in their last 4 snaps. 3rd time's a charm, said head coach John Gross. It was inside release. We felt like DeMond could beat him. He got open. He was actually open the play before that, too. Come back with the same play and made a great throw and catch. Their offensive coordinator says, I'm surprised they didn't get the safety over the top. They kept playing the same coverage, so we kept calling that play.
So,
that
yeah.
hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, it does. And it's you being out-schemed by Jacksonville State. And, the kid had to make a throw, the kid had to make a catch, and then make a couple of dudes miss. But you gave them that opportunity. If you're playing the defense you're supposed to play, they call a different play. And again, maybe it works and they get into field goal range for their freshman kicker that's never made a field goal in college, or they don't. But at least you don't hand them something. And but again, we have to talk about that play because it was a disaster. And it was, I mean, I don't know, man. There have been people that have lost jobs for less. And again, you guys know I like talking to Adam Fuller. I like dealing with him. He is a straight up dude. He explains things. He has mea culpas. It would have been cool if we could have talked to him last night. But that, it's such a head shakingly bad call. Just in that moment, just the game strategy of it, that it defies belief. And again, it really doesn't matter how much confidence we have in a defensive coordinator, a defensive staff, or a coaching staff in general. It's not all Adam Fuller. Mike Norvell can say no, back everybody up. Why is Dix on the field? Get Dix at the 20-yard line. What is he doing? Why is Steven Dix at midfield? What is he doing at midfield? What are they worried about at the 50-yard line? Like, back up. If somebody catches it in the 50 and starts running, go get them. But otherwise, back up. Play football. Like, it's football. I know, and I said this after the game on the video, these guys clearly know more about the sport than I do. They live, breathe, coach it, and it's been their lives forever. But why am I the one in the press box asking Ira, what are they doing? Why aren't they backing up? They're going to throw a Hail Mary. Why aren't they in a Hail Mary defense? Why am I the one saying that? But the guys that get paid the money they get paid to all they do is think and breathe football are in a man-under typical nickel defense with Steven Dix roaming the middle of the field for no particular reason. It makes you mad, man. I know you guys can hear it. I'm mad. But the point I wanted to bring up, and we can talk about this play all day. I'm fired up for it. But what are you doing in a game in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville State?
Right.
How do you score 17 points? You put 41 up on them last year in 3 quarters. How do you only have 17 points? Why is it even a game? And that was the point I tried to make in my column. Because trust me, I went all in on the ridiculousness of the last play. And I went all in on the fact that Toafili had more carries than Ward. I don't know I just don't understand what they're doing there. Corbin and Ward are really good. Toafili might be one day, but he's not on their level yet. So why is he in the game when it matters most in that fourth quarter drive that would have put the game away? But, good teams don't let themselves – they're not in a game in the fourth quarter against a team that lost 31-0 the week before, an FCS team. That's what I talked about with this game. I wanted to see some maturity. I wanted to see them take it seriously, build on some momentum, and no, can't do it. Why would you do it? Keyshawn Helton drops a touchdown pass first drive of the game. Jordan Wilson drops a pass that would have probably led to a touchdown. I mean, he got hit, but you're 260 pounds, man, and it's an FCS safety. If you can't handle that, what are you doing at Florida State? Like, you got to make plays, man. Their receivers go and make plays. But so you had 17 points in 12 drives against an FCS school. That's almost as embarrassing, almost, as what you did on the final play.
If they can't win on the field, hopefully you guys can win on the internet. Betting, that is, over at mybookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT to get started. Make your first deposit at mybookie.ag using that promo code WARCHANT, and you will instantly receive double your deposit. They call it winning season over there. Try the famed MyBookie Super Contest. $10 to enter. You pick 5 games against the spread each week, and each win earns you a point. Each point gets you closer to the grand prize. If you do the $10 contest, you can win up to $100,000. There's also a $300,000 pool, but you have to spend $100 to get into that one. I think all my winners from last week failed you all. I'm so sorry. Like, truly. I'll maybe give you some picks later on, and then we can just totally fade me. And I won't make the picks with that in mind. I'll just truly give you what I think is going to happen, and then you just take the opposite of that, and hopefully you win. We'll get Corey involved, too. I think Corey's got some winners for us that can help us out. But nonetheless, check out mybookie.ag. Promo code is WARCHANT. Get out there and win some doll hairs. Maybe just put Alabama to win it all, right? Just put money on Alabama to win it all, and we can take solace in winning some money, y'all. Let's do that as a family. Let's go. All right, well, let's talk about it offensively then.
I like what I saw. I like good rhythm. Good rhythm. I like that drive where both quarterbacks played. That seemed to get them off balance. Jacksonville State gave Wake something to think about. All good stuff.
There's people saying, where are all the people that said if Mackenzie Milton started against Notre Dame, they win the game? Like, where are you all at now? To which I say touche.
Yeah.
If Jordan Travis plays more of that game against Jacksonville State, do they win it?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, but I want to make that point. So,
I don't blame Mackenzie Milton for the loss.
No, I don't either.
They go ahead. You sound like you're really eager.
Well, no, but my point was I do think they win if Jordan Travis plays that game, because I think what we saw in that game is what I was fearful of. The running game isn't what it is with Jordan Travis in there. There aren't, again, they just defend the offense differently when Jordan Travis is the quarterback.
Man, they average over 5.5 yards a carry, though. If you throw away Toafili's 10 for 22, they're probably at 7 yards a carry almost.
But well, maybe. But they were all. There weren't a bunch of huge runs. There were some 11-yard runs and some 9-yard runs. And Milton did a good job of not taking sacks, which helped. Jordan Travis is going to spin into 2 or 3 a game, which is always going to hurt. But those Toafili carries did happen, and maybe he has a little more room to run if the other guy in the backfield is 13. But my point being, what I was worried about with the Milton stuff is what came to fruition. Like, if he can make the passing game click, then absolutely you play him. But what were you getting out of the passing game anyway? You got a bunch of 6-yard stop routes, one that was picked off. He completed 18 passes for 130 yards. That's not getting it done, man. Against an FCS school, he's completed now 23 passes for less than 200 yards in 2 games. That's not the kind of big plays you're looking for out of the passing game. So what are you getting out of the passing game that a running game with a running quarterback wouldn't give you? Does that make sense?
There's a trade-off. There's a trade-off.
Yeah.
What have you gotten in this trade-off?
Not much. But I would say, so his 3 best throws, I thought, Milton's 3 best throws were dropped. So, again, maybe if Helton catches that pass, they run away with the game.
They do. I mean, I'm not making excuses for Mackenzie Milton. I still think Mackenzie Milton is a better option for 2021 than Jordan Travis. I do. We can all disagree on that. Whatever. It's fine. I get it. Cool. That everything went wrong there. Because I really think when he goes wide open like that, they're like, all right, we can do whatever we want tonight. Like, that sucks. Didn't work out for us, but we're going to be okay tonight. So let's go ahead and stick with our plan to bring Jordan in on the second series and start doing a bunch of crazy, wacky nonsense, which wasn't his fault. Mackenzie talked about, like, they got penalties were the killer for them. Hey, man, they snapped the ball right at your numbers, and you dropped the snap. And then that screwed up that entire drive right there. So that wasn't penalties. That was on you. But I really do think if Keyshawn Helton catches that touchdown, I think that's the spark that puts you on winning this game by 20 points or whatever the spread was. But he didn't make it, and then Mackenzie Milton the remainder of the night never looked comfortable throwing the ball downfield. I don't know how much of it was penalties. Obviously didn't help. What was it, 11 for 114 yards? Yeah. I don't think Kenny Dillingham was – I don't know what was going on with him mentally and emotionally. That was to a man, he would probably tell us the worst game he's ever called or been involved with. That there was no rhyme or reason to anything they were doing. They didn't go, listen, you want to go for it on 4th down in your own end deep against Notre Dame because that's what the analytics say and you coach to win. We'll figure out what you're going to be then. Because they could have either gone ultra conservative in the 4th quarter and ran the hell out of the ball and milked the clock and then try to get out of there with a win, kick a field goal when you're all there on 4th and 3, 4th and goal on the 3-yard line, get your points, and then play defense. Or play aggressively. Play like you're down from behind and try to make some plays downfield. They could not. They try to find some sort of weird happy medium that didn't exist. And they cross themselves up, trying to be too cute with everything, trying to game plan for Wake Forest, trying to put things on film to trip up Wake Forest. Meanwhile, they got a team across the field that was like, hey, man, we're gonna hang with you guys. We're gonna make you play for 60 minutes, and then that's how you lose games. They try to play. It was a checkers game because it's an FCS team. They try to come out and show out that they can play chess, and it doesn't matter because you're playing checkers that night, and you failed miserably.
Well, in a point that I tried to bring up in the column and that Ira brought up in the post game wrap we did on the video. With again, folks, it's 2 a.m. on those things. And I hope you hear just the random loud nonsense that's going on outside the stadium. It's harrowing what we deal with, isn't it, Aslan, outside of Doak at 2 a.m.
I want to confirm that we're not allowed inside the stadium or
I'm going to say, let's just go do it.
Yeah.
Let's just go do it. What are they going to do? What are they going to do to us?
I don't
We're
know.
Warchant, baby.
Seriously.
But so what I was going to say though is what message do you send your team when you have a series with Jordan Travis faking handoffs to Mackenzie Milton handing it off to Jordan Travis, who then throws it or runs with it as a running back? Like, what message? Clearly, they're doing that for Wake Forest. But does that mean the team is like, okay, I guess we're not taking this game as seriously as we did the last one or the next one? We're doing all this stuff.
Oh, it's close.
Hey, I didn't. We're doing all this stuff. Like, it's still 0-0. We're in a game. And this team isn't scared of us at all. No. They led us at halftime last year. They're not coming in here overwhelmed by the moment or the stadium or anything like that, or playing a team like this. They know they can play with us, and we're doing all of this. We're wasting a series. You only get 12. They got 12 Saturday night. They wasted one completely, 2 really, because then you bring in Travis, just inexplicably. No. Like, who's your starting quarterback? Yeah. Like, I think. Look, well, they'll have to make some decisions. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily. I don't think McKenzie played poorly. I really don't.
He didn't play though. He did not play.
No, he
good.
didn't.
Yeah.
His 3 best throws were dropped. One was a sure touchdown. Another one probably leads to a touchdown. And then McLean had one that was just a dime. It would have been a nice catch, and I think he was getting interfered with. But he's got to come down with that down the sideline right before the Helton drop. So Milton didn't play poorly, but he didn't play. Yeah, he didn't play well. He led them to the only points they scored in the second half was a 53-yard field goal. Hey, kudos to Ryan Fitzgerald, by the way.
Fitzy. Attaboy.
Big time.
Attaboy.
So as you move forward, is that you? I know we hand wring about Jordan Travis, and I'm not going to sit here and say that he was a good against Notre Dame. Again, he had 10 drives against Notre Dame or 11 and scored 4 touchdowns. And then he doesn't play at all the next week, except in this nonsensical, like, either you believe that Jordan Travis gave you the best chance to win against Notre Dame, either you believe he deserves to play in the first half against Jacksonville State, or you don't. Like, what are they doing there?
It's the whole middle ground thing, Corey. It's the whole either play.
But I feel like they were bullied into it. I feel like they were game dayed into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were Tom Rinaldi'd into it. Like, I guess, we got to play Milton. They're playing the piano music, and they're talking about his great rehab. But you clearly didn't think he was the best way to beat Notre Dame. So then why is he now the best way to beat Jacksonville State or anybody else for that matter? Because of 3 drives, 2 drives, and then a missed field goal?
You keep saying 3 drives, but those are the most stressful, packed drives and he moved them effortlessly down the field. It wasn't fluky freak plays. Like, it was consistent.
Well, but it was 5 completions. It was 5 completions. One was an incredible throw in the middle of the field, but that I don't think they teach to even make that throw. It's just it was a great throw. But it was 5 completions. It was not. He did not go 11 for 13 for 130 yards. Most of it was on the ground. And again, ride with him. But then he's your quarterback. You can't make both of these guys happy, I don't think. Because I do still think you're gonna need both of them. But I think with the way that offensive line blocks, it's not a great offensive line. It's gotten worse because Robert Scott barely played and Maurice Smith didn't play at all. Those don't we think, their 2 best guys behind maybe DLT.
Yeah. So
they were missing 2 of their best linemen in that game. So they weren't dominating an FCS team like you'd hope. And I just think having somebody that's like another Toa Feely or another Trayshawn Ward back there at quarterback to run, sometimes it's not maybe what you want to do, but it's the best way to win a game. And again, Jordan Travis put up 41 points on those guys in 3 quarters last year. McKenzie Milton got 4 and put up 17, and one was a 53-yard field goal. Last week, Jordan Travis put up 28 points against Notre Dame. And again, I don't know. It's what they do. It's what you get paid for. But you got to figure it out. You got to figure out what you're going to do here, man, with this. You don't have, I guess my point was, you don't have enough great playmakers on this team for Jordan Travis to stand on the sideline for 72 snaps. Like, you saw it, man. Where they got Corbin and Ward. The receivers were bleh. Pokey didn't play.
I know, we're like sitting here trying to talk like, well, they didn't have Pokey. That hurts. Which is like, okay, but come on.
Yeah, but it's not like you didn't have Randy Moss.
Yeah, love you, Pokey. Like, represent Turner County, stand up. But yeah, let's be a little honest with what we're working with here. In case anybody wonders, Florida State right now is the 38th best. I mean, I would say 38th best. They rank 38th on PFF, Pro Football Focus, for pass blocking. They pass pro their rear ends off. Like, Milton had several plays where he probably had like 10 Mississippi back there in the pocket to make a throw.
Yeah, he had one in particular where he just kept shifting, like, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, rolled out. So with that in mind, and you're going up against FCS, an FCS defense, an FCS secondary, and you're still not doing anything in the passing game, what's the point? No. Do you just become an 80% running team, and you say, you know what? Until Jordan Travis gets hurt, we're gonna have him. We're gonna be running the read with him, and you got to deal with Corbin instead of doing. I guess, man. Look, everything's hindsight. Everything is hindsight. I'm 100% confident. This doesn't even mean that Jordan Travis should start, but I'm 100% confident that if he's the quarterback on 1st and goal at the 9, they score a touchdown there. I'm 100% confident in that. Yeah. I just think he spreads out a defense. They can't account for him. If they do account for him, something else is going to be open. If he's in the backfield with Toafili on 3rd and 2, that play was the difference in the game. You know, I don't know. It looked like they quick snapped it, and the lineman, whoever missed the block, wasn't ready. And of course, Toafili doesn't make anyone miss right now. So the first guy in there is the first guy that brings him down every time. And I just think if it's Jordan Travis in there, things play out a little different. He pulls the ball and waltzes into the end zone, and it's 24-7. I can't even imagine what the winning percentage was. What it said on like the win expectancy.
Yeah.
When you have the ball at the FCS opponent's 2-yard line, 3rd down and goal, and you're up 17-7 in the 4th quarter, where 2 more yards puts you up 24. I bet it was 98.8% chance to win. But, of course, you get tackled for a loss. Then on 4th and goal, again, 4th and goal. Is your best play to throw it up to the freshman just to fade?
After a timeout, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you call the timeout.
Yeah, to throw
give it to McClain in the end zone.
And I think the timeout was – and I don't mind not going for it there. I don't. I mean, I don't – yeah, you know what I mean? Like, even you're saying to yourself, even if we don't pick this up, it's at FCS school at the 3-yard line, and we still have a 2-score lead. We're still in really good shape. But, of course, your defense let them go 97 yards because why wouldn't they? It's what they do. Even if they've been playing relatively well, but give up a 97-yard drive. Jarian Jones, go ahead and interfere with an FCS receiver. You can't even cover an FCS receiver on 3rd down. Good luck against Clemson, man. Like, you can't cover those guys without interfering with them. That ain't great news either. But I don't mind him going for it in that spot. But that's, you know, again, if Jordan Travis is the quarterback, you're not running a fade to the freshman wide receiver. You're getting him outside with a chance to either run or throw, and you're putting, you're in leverage, and you're putting pressure on the outside of the defense. But again, that's not to say that I do think they win the game if Jordan Travis is the quarterback, but only because I think they would have called the game differently, and they would have been able to run even more than they did. You know, they need, I think Jordan Travis probably gets you 50 or 60 yards rushing. He picks up a few 3rd downs that weren't picked up. Maybe you don't get those holds. You don't get a legal man downfields. I'm not saying that he deserves to. I'm not saying that Milton lost the job or that he lost the game for them. He didn't. It's just the game plan was bizarre and baffling. And what's the point of having this gunslinger when you give him a BB gun? You know what I mean? And he completes 18 passes for 130 yards. He's like Alex Smith. You don't need that, man. That's not what you brought him here for.
I can't hammer it down to that specific exact play because it's really finicky on ESPN.com, but when they completed the pass to get 2nd and goal on the 1-yard line, actually it says 2nd and goal, Jacksonville State 12. Milton completes to White Rector 11 yards to the Jacksonville State 1. So,
but they didn't have 1st and goal at the 1, did they? I don't remember that. I think that might be wrong. I think that pass to Rector set up 3rd down.
There we go. 3rd and goal at the Jacksonville State 1. Toafili runs for 2 yards to the Jacksonville State 3. They were at 97.6 right there. With 10 minutes, 12 seconds left in the 4th quarter. Flores had a 97.6 win probability.
Yeah, it's over. The game's over. But you don't score. You not only score a touchdown, you don't score any points at all. And then again, I get going for it there because being up by 17 ends the game. Being up by 13, you're still in a game, and you have 3 yards to go. The play call, whatever, it's a nice effort by McClain, but, hey, it'd be nice. Their guys make plays. Can you not make a catch and come down with the ball? Like that's just not allowed if you're a Florida State receiver. But the defense just melts down, man. They just melt down in the moment. Just what they do. Just an absolute meltdown to give up. They give up 177 yards in the last 2 drives against an FCS school when you have a 2-score lead.
An FCS school that was shut out last week against the
By
team
the great UAB defense. You saw what they did to Stetson Bennett at Georgia. Kid was 5 for 5 for 240 yards and 4 touchdowns in his first 5 passes. Yeah.
The clutch shot, the biggest hits. It's time for the Zaxby's indescribably good
Player of the week.
Did they do bobblehead race on the replay board, like Decker Hoff versus Gabby Reese versus Dion? Did they do that? I was at home.
They
watching.
did, but I don't remember who was. Is it always those 3, or is
I don't
Burt's in there
know.
too?
Yeah, sometimes Burt.
They did, but I wasn't paying attention.
Well, whoever won, that's my Zaxby's indescribably good player of the week. That's all I got.
You know what? I'm
Ryan
gonna go
Fitzgerald. Ryan
you go.
Fitzgerald. I mean,
That was number one. That was a clutch kick,
it was absolutely.
Especially for a kid. This last one was the one it was for him to step up and make a kick like that. And you might say, "Oh, they lost anyway." Well, that was a big kick that put them up by 10 points late in the third quarter. Gave them some breathing room that they clearly didn't take advantage of. So yeah, man, that was a nice kick for him, a nice moment for him. And but I'll go with Jermaine Johnson. I mean, he had 11 tackles.
Yeah, keep going.
I think he had 3.5 tackles for loss, 2.5
Correct.
sacks.
Correct.
So he now has more sacks in 2 games than your starting defensive ends had combined all of last season. He is a player, man. Imagine what this defense would be without him, where they would be without him. And he must have used the word embarrassed 6 or 7 times in his press conference yesterday. Not just like it was an embarrassing effort. It was an embarrassing loss. And it's true, man. It is. But he played his tail off, and he needs some help. Dennis Briggs, actually, I think it was the play before the end of the game. He's the reason they did. I know that coach said it was open the play before, but he's the reason they couldn't make the throw because he got in there and forced a throwaway, which I thought was close to grounding, but they didn't call it. But either way, Briggs at least made some plays there at the end. But Jermaine Johnson through 2 games has shown up, been the best transfer portal player they picked up, and it's not close, and one of the best in the country, I would imagine. He might lead he's got to be one of the leaders in the country in sacks. So good for him.
So there we go. Ultimately, though, Ryan Fitzgerald, Moultrie, Colquitt County.
Stand up.
Let's go. Our Zaxby's indescribably good player of the week. By the way, there's Zaxby's everywhere. There's one on the way to Thomasville, one on the way down the Parkway. There's one in Mariana. They're everywhere, but those are some of our favorites. Check them out. How about them pro football focus grades, Corey? Jermaine Johnson, 81.
There you go.
Pass rush, 71. Man, they just feel like they grade our guy on a different scale than everybody else.
They grade him on like the Reggie White scale.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you're not Reggie White. I guess we'll give you a low C.
Miko Dots and Jarian Jones hang out towards the bottom of these every single week. It's kind of weird. They tackle really well, but their coverage grades are not good, and their job is to cover people.
Was Dotson on the field at the end of the game? Was Akeem Dent?
I can't even remember who was on the field for it. I mean, I can look at the replay, pull it up on here. But
it's hard to see. I'd like to know. Again, it just boggles the mind in that spot. You have Dix for sure, and then 4 linemen. So you have 5 guys that aren't going to make a tackle downfield. And then I just don't know who else was on the. I don't know who else was on the field. And again, it's not. I'm mad about that clearly, but the fact that it was a game, the column I was going to write.
Jarian Jones was on the field. Sorry, but I'm just looking at the replay.
So Jarian Jones was, but not in the play.
Right.
Where was he? Where was the guy he was covering? I legitimately want to know. Like, it just. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't. I would think Brady playing with his friends in a backyard football game. If the mom calls in, Joey, it's time for dinner. All right, last play, Mom. Everybody go deep. I would think Brady and his defensive mates would back up. Like, hey, we just don't let him score touchdowns the last play. It boggles the mind that you had so many guys around midfield when the end zone, where all the points are 50 yards behind them, and that's what you're protecting. So again, it's not a good defense anyway. It's better. It's not good, and it was done a complete and total disservice by the coaching staff on that final play. And let's not forget the drive before. They had a touchdown taken away because of an illegal man downfield, a wide open touchdown. And then 2 plays later, and even more wide open guys in the end zone. So we're doing that again. You know what I mean? Like Jacksonville State had 1 bust the whole night, and of course Helton dropped it. Florida State, when it mattered most, had busts everywhere. Like, how does that guy get that wide open in that spot when you're up 17-7? How do you give up essentially 2 touchdown passes in 3 plays? What defense is that? How is it so easy? Why does it look so easy to a bad football team? Anyway, but you also had 17 points. It's not all in the defense. Your offense scored 17 flipping points.
Yeah. Jarvis Brownlee had a 22 for tackling. That was the lowest of anybody that played. Try not to pick on it, but that was tough. That was a tough situation right there. To that point, Corey, offensively, I mean, that one play was the game, but I still think the offense bears the brunt of the blame for to be in that situation. Again, I still think, I'm crazy, I'm stupid. Maybe you guys think I'm just not. I'll admit when I'm wrong on things. Jordan Travis probably does win that game. I don't think Jordan Travis gives you, and this sounds crazy, we can all laugh at me now. Like, Jordan Travis doesn't give you a shot to beat Clemson. I don't think he gives you a shot to beat Miami. I don't think he gives you a shot to beat Florida.
But after you watch what you watched on Saturday, do you think that Milton throwing it does either?
I would hope that maybe something develops where they'll dedicate and commit everything to him and his skill set and game plan, and perhaps at that point, with 2 or 3 more games under his belt, yes, you're going to be competitive against those teams, and maybe you can sneak it up. Maybe.
I just don't know that your receivers are good enough to compete against the big boys.
And that's a problem, right, man? Because they pass-pro'd well. He had time, and that's maybe the sobering conclusion from all this is what Ira mentioned last year, one of the first people to point out, hey, man, these receivers are not good. I countered with, well, they don't have a real good quarterback throwing them the ball. They haven't. So what do we really expect? The fact that he had all sorts of time, and he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's got a quick release. Yeah. But the fact that, Keyshawn Helton is the only guy that busted wide open, and we're expecting that Mackenzie Milton would have saw anybody else that would have broke wide open. But basically, you went, 54 minutes of football without anybody blowing by somebody, an FCS team. Like, none of your guys could get start.
Well, and how about this too? Like, it's not just that. Like, again, it can be hard to do that if they're playing 11 yards off you, which they did a lot of the time. And he was good at taking those 5-yard passes. But hey, man, guess what? You catch a 5-yard pass, you get tackled 5 yards. Like, you're allowed to make people miss, man. And good receivers, and again, I think McClain could be good. I think there's something might be there with Williamson. And I'm certainly not giving up on Helton because of one drop. But you're allowed to make people miss, man, in open space. They do. Their guy made 2 people miss to go win a game. Like, if that's a Florida State receiver, even if he makes a good catch, he probably just gets pushed out of bounds because that's what happens to them. That's got to be figured out. They got to get some guys that can make people miss, where you're not having to coach every yard, because the whole goal, it's nice to get 6 yards on first down just because they give it to you, but you'd like to bust a 35-yarder and make someone miss. That's allowed to happen, and it just didn't. So yeah, that was kind of my point when it comes to the whole Travis and Milton thing, and we don't have to talk about it the rest of the week or the rest of the season. It's just that if he had a better receiving core, you'd feel better about opening up the passing game and using his talents and his tools. But if it's not going to be anything more than this, it seems like banging your head against the wall. Like, okay, you can want a great passing game, you can want to utilize his skill set, but he doesn't have the tools to do it. As in, he doesn't have the playmakers around him to make this worth it. So go back to the kind of backyard Jordan Travis, run around as long as you can, run for 30 yards here, run around and find somebody open there, offense.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan could be the bridge, right? Like, I think I'm as guilty as anybody of wanting to be back as quickly as possible. And this is going to be a process, unfortunately. So you can't compete. You're not a 10-win team.
Clearly.
Try to win 5 or 6 games. Jordan Travis is that guy that can do that. Probably gives you a better shot at that. Like, I think the upside of Mackenzie Milton seemed to me to be a little bit more fascinating, a little bit more enticing. but maybe just take what just the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, and ride it out with Jordan Travis. I don't know. I still think Milton is kind of, I don't know. I would like to see him be able to play untethered and loose and free, but I don't know if he'll ever will. There was one play where he pulled up well short of any sort of contact, so I don't know how much of the physical toll is still on his mind.
I thought he held up a little bit, though, right? Like, he did have a big third down run where he faked that guy out of his shoes, and then his touchdown pass. I can't imagine what that linebacker was doing, but he rolled to his right and made the pass over the middle, or made the pass on the run for the touchdown. Yeah. It wasn't like he looked physical, and he throws from some crazy arm slots.
Yes.
But what's so frustrating, what's so telling, I think, the reason that I cut myself off because I do that. I have what do you call it? ADD. I couldn't even think of the initials. I wanted to say OCD.
ADHD, I think, is what it is. ADHD.
There you go. And I actually was diagnosed with that in marriage counseling about 15 years ago. And so what was funny is, not to get too into my marriage at the time, but my wife Shanna, lovely Shanna, would be upset that I wasn't great at chores. I wasn't great at cleaning up after myself or cleaning dishes, stuff like that. And the marriage counselor was like, well, sometimes it can be hard for Corey because he does have adult ADHD. So you have to keep reminding him. And she's like, well, I get tired of reminding him. And so for the next year and a half, anytime she complained, like, why didn't you take out the trash? I'm like, babe, my ADHD keeps flaring up. I can't control it. I'm trying. She did not appreciate. She laughed the first few times, but after that, she did not appreciate it. Anyway, there's a glance into the Clark marriage that produced Brady. But my point was that this was going to be a negative show anyway. I was going to be really upset, and I hope you guys were too, because the fact that it was a game at all is the most important thing to me. Like, if you're going to take a next step and you're going to build on the momentum of a game like that against Notre Dame, you would have hoped that you would have come out and, like I said, just be up 30-0, man. Be up. Go play two good games in a row. You have the fans behind you for the first time in years, truly believing, probably since like the second quarter of Boise State. The fans are truly believing in what you're doing as a program and what you're doing as a team. And then you give us that mess. And even though it took some crazy plays even to be up at half, like, they fumbled in your red zone, that you ran back 30 yards. You had, one of your, and then that drive you scored, but only after they had a 15-yard penalty away from the play on first down. Just weird stuff. They gave you points. They did. They had more penalties than you did. You got down to the 2-yard line there in the fourth quarter because of a 30-yard penalty on a targeting and a pass interference on 3rd and 20. Because, of course, you had gone backwards with an illegal chop block here or a hold here. So they had given you points. They did not play all that well, and you still were in a dogfight with an FCS team. And it's like, man, you can't – every time you feel like you want to rally around this program, and this goes for the guy before too, but now we're on to Norvell. They do something like this, and that's what's so disheartening about it is you thought they were past this.
Yeah.
And then the very first drive, you drop a 4th down touchdown. The next drive, you get the ball at like the 3. McKenzie wants to throw just a stop route to Parchment. Just I'm gonna snap the ball and throw it to you. They're not on the same page. Parchment takes off running. And then they're talking to each other. They have another play that's brought back because of an illegal man downfield. They have a big run brought back, and it's just like, okay, this is just what y'all do, right? You can't handle prosperity, and prosperity shouldn't be a loss anyway. But everybody was feeling good about it, and what I wanted to see was a competent, mature, not go through the motions, emphatic win over an outman team, and instead, not only did you not do that at all, you came out horribly, and you end up losing the game. And it's like, yeah, man, this fan base is done with words. They're done hearing about how you're working hard and you only can work hard and you're going to get it fixed. I promise we'll be better. The last guy said that too, and he was bounced after 18 games. You're now 3-8 after 11, and you just lost to an FCS team, and you were completely unprepared and poorly coached. And you didn't look like you took them all that seriously. And now you get to go play Wake Forest. And, hey, it might be a fun show next week. They might go up there and beat Wake Forest and everything. It won't be forgotten, But it'll be a much lighter. You'll start believing maybe a little bit again.
I mean, literally, the only thing that makes you forgive that is like a national championship in the next 2-3 years. I'm being honest. It's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. That is the one indignity that we were spared. Even like in the down years of Bowden towards the end of things.
Yeah.
It got hairy. Didn't it get hairy versus Jacksonville State?
Oh, they got close. That was Ryan Perilou. But yeah, they were down in the fourth quarter. They had to drive in the rain to go take the lead with like a minute and a half left, and then they got a stop and a sack and a return fumble. But yeah, I think they won that game like 19-9.
Yeah, so like we've dodged that bullet. You just made us eat it, and it's this staff, and listen, for all it's Jimbo's fault that Willie sort of proponents try to shield him with. This is his team. This is Mike Norvell's team through and through. There's some guys on that field that, yes, Willie Taggart recruited, but by and large, no coach. I mean, Willie Taggart was not afforded the ability of a free agent transfer portal the way Norvell was. You have constructed this team. You got all the guys that you wanted first go around and in hiring pretty much. Maybe you didn't get the defensive coordinator you wanted. You're on your second defensive backs coach. That was a weird sort of thing. But man, you had all the ingredients, you had all the things that you wanted that lined up. You pretty much had a mulligan. You had 9 games to sift through and learn about your team, and everybody kind of forgave you on that. And now you're 0-2, man. Like, yeah, he went 3-6 last year. He's 3-8 now as a coach. And I don't know how many games Willie had, and people want to talk about keep that same energy. We'll know the same way we knew about Willie in October of his second year, we'll know about this staff. Sadly, because that's the way we operate right now in this time and day and age. I went back and looked. Like, everyone can point to Nick Saban losing to Louisiana Monroe during homecoming his first year, but that was his first year. By the second year, midway through the season, they were rolling, and the dynasty was being built.
Yeah.
Remember when we went to ACC kickoff and Scott Satterfield from Louisville was talking about, like, midway through the second year, you'll know where you stand and what you have with a coach. And, like, we knew with Willie, this isn't going to work. You had no recruits coming in the pipeline that made you feel good about the future. You had just widespread apathy, and you were losing horrendously against teams. But although we kind of rewrote the books on that last season, we'll know. I mean, I don't want to sit here and talk about how great I felt about Notre Dame and wow, I think we can win 8 games now. To now come back this week after Jacksonville saying like we're horrible, we're probably going to win 2 games. And then maybe we go beat Wake Forest this Saturday. And then I don't want to keep fluctuating through all this. But then this is all data points that we're going to continue to look at every single week on this show. Man, it's hard to think that Adam Fuller comes back next year. It's hard to think Adam Fuller finishes the year out at this point right now. But I don't know, some people I don't know if they want this team to be better or they just want to see a white coach get fired because a black coach got fired, which they think was an unfair circumstance. I don't think it was. But we will know as these games start piling up, man. If they can bounce back and play the way they did against Notre Dame, against Wake Forest, I think they'll beat Wake Forest. Who knows how good Notre Dame is? But I think we know what a good football team looks like, what the effort looks like. And they played well against Notre Dame, man. They did play well against Notre Dame. If you can play if they would have played like that against Jacksonville State, yes, they cleared the point spread. For some reason, they did not. We don't know why. Mike Norvell doesn't know why. Maybe he does, doesn't want to tell us. But for all you guys want me to bring my pitchfork out and go after this guy, like the closet's open. I don't have it in my hand yet, but the closet door is open. It for sure is because.
Is that where you keep your pitchfork? What does that mean?
I guess I don't know. I don't have a shed. I wish I had a shed.
I didn't understand the analogy. You said bring out your pitchfork, and then you said the closet was open.
Well, the pitchfork would. I don't know, like a broom closet. I don't know if I had a pitchfork, I'd keep it in a broom closet inside my house, maybe. Oh,
okay. I'd keep it under my bed.
Okay.
In case an attacker came in.
Yeah. But let's be honest, the recruiting was part of it too. We thought, like, hey, if he can recruit well, and you got reinforcements coming in, just be 6 wins. That's enough to keep these guys happy, probably.
Well, that's the thing, right? That to me, look, there was some behind the scenes stuff with Taggart as far as recruiting organization, the fact that he had 9 coaches instead of 10. There was some stuff that added to it. It wasn't just the record. But the main thing was the record coupled with the way they were recruiting, which was not good at all. That was his selling point. You bring Taggart in, he's going to load this roster up. He's going to be like the Ron, even if he's not a great game day coach, he'll be like the Ron Zook that loads up the roster with talent for the next guy. That wasn't happening. They were recruiting worse than they'd ever had. Right now, Norvell isn't. Norvell is recruiting quite well. But they just lost to Jacksonville State and are now 0-2, and they might be on their way to a who knows what kind of season. So can he keep that class together? That's the whole goal now, man. Like, the cavalry is coming if you can keep them together. But you don't know. If you don't give them a reason to want to come to you, it's, a commitment is just a commitment. It's verbal. It doesn't matter until they send their fax from 1988. None of that matters until you get their signature. So the recruiting class looks great now, but nothing is on paper yet, and I think that's a real concern moving forward for Florida State fans is, okay, yeah, he's got the number 3 class in the country. Those other classes in the top 10 didn't just lose to Jacksonville State. So, that's a real worry and a real concern. And yeah, he's going to look, man, if they have another horrible season, and you just lost to Jacksonville State, so literally anything is on the table. You can lose to everyone but UMass, and I shouldn't even say that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Walt Bell might have some stuff dialed up. You might lose to flipping UMass. I don't know. I don't know where low is anymore. I don't know how much lower it can go, but we keep finding new depths. But this season could turn out to be a nice comeback story where you win. This is the easy part of the schedule coming up, and you just lost one of the games you were guaranteed to win. So who knows what this record will be and how that impacts recruiting, but that's the biggest key right now. That's the biggest key. And yeah, there's no confidence in this staff at all right now from the majority of the fan base. I don't know if people are calling for him to lose his job. It is just 11 games, but look, man, you lose to Jacksonville State, this is what you deal with. So don't lose to flipping Jacksonville State. Figure out what you're doing at quarterback. Don't give up 60-yard plays with 6 seconds left in the game like you're some poorly coached high school team. Learn the rules. Like, I just remember how much grief I gave Taggart, and rightfully so, for that stupid timeout before the punt against Louisiana Monroe. You saved them time and gave them a chance to go win the game in regulation by calling a timeout to then punt. Well, Norvell called a timeout to punt Saturday night. You only needed a yard.
Take delay a game or something, right?
Yeah, take the delay a game, man. If you're going to try to get them to jump off sides, you only needed a yard. So you go punt and you leave your defense without any timeouts, and apparently you could have used it before that last play. You could have gotten Steven Dix off the field. Steven, I love you. You're grading out at 90%, man. You just don't need to be in the game on a Hail Mary type play. It doesn't make any sense. But, you didn't have timeouts either. And that play call, that one play call, that singular play call, not having 4 or 5 safeties somewhere around the 20 to 15-yard line, and just telling everybody on the field to keep everything in front and rally up and tackle if they do throw something over the middle quickly, or heck, let them run and then tackle them at the 10, and the game's over. Either way, that play call was dumber than anything Willie Taggart did. And there's no denying it, right? And Saturday night's loss was worse than anything Willie Taggart did.
Yeah.
So that comes with the territory, man. So I get it. I get people being like, keep that same energy. It was preposterously bad. And after such goodwill had been built up from all of us. And now it's all gone. They got to rebuild it again. It's not over. Season's not over. That was just from start to finish, man. From Helton drop to Jamie Robinson not running, ridiculous play call at the end on defense. It was just 60 minutes of gross. I thought we were through with this.
It was a horrible
I thought we were through with this. It was a horrible game. It's a horrible game.
Even if they would have won the game, I still think the tone of this show would be pretty similar to what it is right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be as mad about the final play because they would have played it like a competent coaching staff. But otherwise, yeah, I would have been really disheartened by what we saw because there was nothing. It looked nothing like what we had seen the week before, and they just completely have. You can't. There's no defense for 17 points. And again, one of them was a 53. You were almost shut out in the second half. It took a 53-yard field goal to avoid being shut out in the second half. You're an offensive coach, man. What are you doing? figure this out. Why is Jashawn Corbin not? He had 12 carries for over like 108 yards, and then got 3 carries the rest of the game. Like, why feed him and feed Ward? They're averaging 7 yards a carry and 6 yards a carry.
That's nearly as horrible as the utilization of Jashawn Corbin is almost as criminal as the last defensive play call. Like at 7.3 yards per carry he was averaging. And his longest was 27. So this wasn't him running on 89 yards and then piddling around for 2 yards the rest of the night. Man, every time he touched a ball, it was Devontae Freeman-esque. It was like, all right, he's going to get 6 yards here, another 6 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards, 12 yards, 7 yards. The way they utilized him was bizarre.
And maybe he's banged up, and he just wouldn't admit it after the game when we talked to him. Maybe.
No, the way he reacted, that was as much of a I don't know what the hell they're thinking either, guys.
Yeah.
As answer as you could give as a 21-year-old kid.
Because it's not, they were giving the ball to Toafili on short yardage situations up the middle of the field.
And
like it's that that's Corbin's role. That's Corbin's territory, man. And then you bring Jashawn in for the game, the drive that you hope wins the game. But he's been sitting for 5 hours. You know, he's been sitting for 2 drives in probably 55 minutes of real time. He hadn't gotten a carry. And, you know, maybe ride a hot hand. But it doesn't make sense when you're up 17-7 and you're trying to go in to finish the game that you play the whole drive with your third best running back. It doesn't make sense. The kid had 10 carries for 22 yards. He had 2 awful carries on short yardage situations. He's not that guy right now. Toafili isn't. You can do other things with him, and he can be a playmaker. But Corbin's your best running back. Ward's your second best running back. Jordan Travis is your third best running back, and none of them got the ball at all in the final quarter.
So where do they go from here, Corey? I know we've hit an hour.
Winston-Salem.
He's Corey Amazo. Thanks for listening to the show. How much of a concern do you have of how many times do we have to ask these kids to get off the mat? Like, I guess Jermaine Johnson hasn't been on the mat. Man, Mackenzie Milton does not take – I like Mackenzie Milton almost because of how pissed off he is after they lose. He almost has more – I've seen more anger from him almost than if you would have put every post-game player interview from 2017 from here on out into a blender. His disdain – like, yeah, man, we sat around here, everyone patting us on the back, tell us how good we felt after a loss. And I'm guilty of it. I've contributed to it. I thought we should have all felt good about the way we played against Notre Dame. But I don't know. They're relying on so many young players who I guess really, you know, Bavion, Emmett, Brady Scott, those are the guys that I would wonder about. Man, they've heard the messaging from 3 different guys, and they've, from all indications, they've always tried. They've always played hard in practice. They've always prepared correctly, and this is how they constantly get rewarded. But is the hope that there's enough new blood? I mean, Jermaine Johnson came from a good program. Mackenzie Milton won a whole bunch of games where he was from. Is it the hope that those guys can kind of set the message, or is it asking too much almost? Not of the coaches, but of these players to keep believing when this is what they constantly sow from weeks in and week out of preparing the way they do. And oddly enough, man, I thought they practiced like trash leading up to the Notre Dame game. I thought they actually practiced quite well leading up to this game, and look what happened. So,
yeah, and look, man, it's not like the coaches are taking it easy on them. I just think the message you send when you do some goofy stuff like punting it left-footed and then putting in your second-string quarterback for a series when it's still 0-0, putting your second-string quarterback at running back, having a receiver light up, all this Wildcat stuff, it kind of gives the impression that you're not taking the game as seriously as you need to. And I'm sure that wasn't their hope, but they're 19, 20-year-old kids that might take it like that. That's the risk you run with doing quirky, goofy stuff like that. And, yeah, I love what Milton said. He's like, yeah, we are what we are. We're 0-2.
Yeah.
We're an 0-2 football team. We just lost to Jacksonville State. And he goes, I'm not saying – we got a big-headed or anything, but this can happen when you get patted on the back for losing. And he's like, that was the thing. We lost last week. And that's what Milton said after the game last week. There's no such thing as moral victories. But there clearly aren't because they didn't do anything with it. There was nothing about that. That was an amoral victory. This was an amoral loss, I can tell you that much. And so you wonder what the mindset is. Right, because look, man, I'm not saying they're not invested. I'm not saying they don't care, because I think they do, and I would have no reason to believe otherwise. But Jermaine Johnson's going to be off this campus in 8 weeks, 10 weeks.
Right.
So's Mackenzie Milton. So if you start out 1-4, how much are they going to really like be invested in making their teammates better? Like, hey guys, let's play the Seminole way. We're building for next year. They're gone. And that's the risk you run with portal guys. You know, Andrew Parchment was at Kansas and Northern Illinois and a JUCO for a reason, and you're seeing it on Saturdays. He's not a guy. He has offensive pass interference. He runs the wrong route. You know, you're seeing reasons that maybe he wasn't the most dependable person at the other places he was at. And he clearly hasn't done much here so far. He's got 4 catches for 28 yards. That's your quote-unquote number one guy. That's not great. So I don't know, moving forward, to answer your question, I don't know how much you can rely on the transfers being like the leadership guys.
I'm not counting on them being leadership, but just how high quotient is it of this team just melting down now? Because in 2019, the way they lost to Boise State, it wasn't comparable at all the way they lost to Notre Dame, but was heartbreaking in its own sort of way. Then the next week you come out and you play an FCS team and you look horrible, but you win. This time you look horrible and you lose. And then you go on the road to Virginia and we all left them for dead. And they actually came out and played pretty hard. That's the one weird sort of fallacy about the Taggart era, is about they didn't play hard for him. I don't know. I mean, listen, they looked horrible against top 10 teams. Like, they looked horrible against Clemson. They looked horrible against Notre Dame when Taggart was here. But they looked just as bad playing Louisville last year in Pitt.
Absolutely.
So
again,
a
different kind of year. Nobody wants to hear that, but it was a different kind of year than what Taggart had. But absolutely, like, they did rally up in that Virginia game. They still lost, and there was still some goofy stuff that happened at the end. And I think, the 18 season was where all of Taggart's teams got blown out, except for the Miami game. The 19 season was they were in every game except Clemson. They just found ways to lose the close ones. Whether it's Wake Forest and some odd game management there, odd game management against Virginia, the Boise State debacle. Like, they would find ways to lose games, but it wasn't like they weren't competing and weren't playing hard. And I don't think the team Saturday night, I wouldn't say they didn't play hard.
No.
They just played horribly. And Dante Lucas probably leads the country in penalties per play. Like, the amount of plays he's been on the field, he had 3 on Saturday night, including a play where he's blocking 10 yards downfield on a pass. So it's like, what message isn't being received? And that's what's so frustrating, is like, when you preach accountability and discipline and working hard and 1% better and all this, and then your fans see another 11 penalty, 114-yard performance with 8 on the offense, 6 by the offensive line, it's like, well, here we go again. That's awesome. Y'all didn't have any false starts, I don't think. But you had 2 illegal man downfields. You had 2 holds. You had a chop block. Like, it just offensive pass interference. Like, it just, you're going to find ways to screw it up. And why is that? Why is that? Are these guys just not coachable? Because they're not all the Willies guys. So some of these are a lot of these guys are your guys. They're guys you brought in. So why, what's getting lost? Why do they look so, why aren't they playing cleaner football? And that's what he has to add. And so moving on the rest of the season, yes, if they start getting trounced, if they look like they did against Louisville, if that defense goes up to Wake Forest and can't stop anything, is giving up more wide open nonsense, if they completely melt down because of this game, that will be a horrible look for Norvell, because he's supposed to be the guy that preaches next play and flush it and all that stuff that coaches talk about. That's what this is, a true test, man, of that. And we'll see. We'll see if they can rally back, because this is a huge game for them now. It's a huge game, honestly, for his career at Florida State, because it could go bad and sour in a hurry. I do not think they still owe the former guy a ton of money. So I don't think Norvell's in any worry about being on some sort of hot seat in year 2. But year 3, it'll be burning hot if they win 3 or 4 games this year, or 2. Who knows? 1. Who knows what they're going to end up this year? But yes, that game just changed everything, man. It shouldn't. It's one game. Like you said, you don't want it to be like a tennis match We're like, oh, we like him. You look to your right. Oh, no, we don't. You look back to your left. Oh, we like him again. Yeah. You don't want to be like that, so reactionary. But that's the worst loss in Florida State history, at least in modern Florida State history. Bowden, Bowden, 76 on.
Color television era of
yes,
college
right,
football.
yeah. It's the worst loss in Florida State history. So with that in mind, yeah, man, you've got a lot of digging out of a hole to do because all that goodwill was just crumbled. A lot of people believed in him wholeheartedly last week,
and Adam Fuller too. And people like, hey, I'm cool with you now, Adam.
And then they just set the bandwagon on fire, just set it on fire, and killed a bunch of innocent people. And you've got to figure out what this team is going to be, man. Because again, like Ira said at our post game video, like words don't matter, man. They just don't anymore. We've heard it all before. You've got to see action. You've got to see your team have a game where they have 2 penalties. Have a game where they put up 40 points against a good team. Do something like that, man. That's how you win people back. Words aren't going to do it.
All right, folks, that's a wrap for us. But Jeff Cameron going to be bringing the heat probably. I'm clearing out my calendar to be in front of my computer to watch him on Warchant TV, or if you're in the car in Tallahassee, 93.3 FM, 1 to 3 p.m. The Jeff Cameron Show with Jeff and Tom Lang will be airing live here on Warchant TV and over the airwaves again, 93.3 in Tallahassee. I think we're going to do Trench Talk. Please ask nice questions, everybody.
Right.
Ask Devontae the nicest present he ever bought his girlfriend, and maybe
there you go.
What secret talent he has, if he can do like a celebrity impression of somebody. Be gentle.
Yeah. Ask him if he was the defensive coordinator, how many safeties he would have had back near the goal line.
Do not do that. Like that's the stuff that we do.
That's the stuff we're not looking for. Got it, Roger.
Correct. I think we're going to get a press conference with the coach and the coordinators on Monday. That's usually the way they handle things, but who knows? Maybe they feel betrayed by us at this point and they don't want to talk to us anymore. So do stay connected to warchant.com, though. We are the ultimate Seminole sports source. We're going to make it through this, Corey. We can't say we lived through worse. See, we always keep saying, couldn't it be any worse? We said that in 2018.
I got to quit saying that.
And we're talking. The Nebraska fans are laughing at us right now. Oh,
yes.
We'll never be Nebraska. Look at you guys.
Hey, buddy, my email is full of Nebraska fans. So I guess I did this to ourselves. I did this to myself.
He's Corey Amazon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.